Okay, tonight we're going to be talking about something that isn't very technical, but it relates to everything that is technical. And that's the dangers of a tools-first strategy. Why am I talking about this? I came up through consulting and software development, got involved in business intelligence when I was working for a bank, and began again another career working at a company that did apartment complexes across the US. And we saw firsthand in each of those organizations the problems associated with picking a software package before you even know what you're trying to accomplish. So what would happen is some senior executive would go to a conference and they would see a dog and pony show and the dancing bears and the blinking lights, and they would say, we got to have that. And then they'd come back and tell us, hey, go buy this piece of software. It's got an annual license. We've got to get it in there. And come to find out the thing doesn't connect. It doesn't talk. It doesn't do anything. I remember one particular thing we went to Oracle headquarters. They have this customer experience center. It's beautiful, gorgeous. There's an acrobatic airplane hanging from the ceiling. As you walk in through a nice Japanese garden, you go through all these customer experience rooms and all of these different presentations. You get the software back home and you find out that owning Oracle software is like owning a boat. Every time you want to connect to something, break out another 1,000. So it just is one of those situations where when people approach the problem of business intelligence by looking into the market for what kind of tools they can buy, then they run into a lot of problems with trying to fit it into an ecosystem and driving that square peg into that round hole. If you got a big enough hammer, you can make it happen, but why would you bother? So moved up, did some work in leadership and IT, got involved with a consulting outfit, and now I've gone back into consulting in kind of a quasi-retirement. Not really. You know, I was vice president of professional services, and now I'm director of business intelligence, which is kind of a chairman emeritus role. I don't really have any responsibilities other than to sit around and talk to you guys about business intelligence. So makes me very happy. And here tonight, we're going to talk about that process of how a tools-first strategy can affect your entire approach and how to avoid it. So here's our typical approach, right? Person A is talking to person B. We have to improve our business intelligence platform. And so, hey, I was out at so-and-so conference and they've got a great tool. Let's go buy that. And you can fill in that blank with anything. When I was working at the bank, there was any number of companies that were out there selling pre-built business intelligence software that will help you solve all your problems. And of course, any of us that know anything about what's going on behind the scenes realize that none of the data that we want to use is in any kind of a format that can be used by this piece of software, that it's a one-trick pony. It doesn't serve a broad purpose. You know, it just runs into problem after problem after problem. But what it'll do is they'll just run out there and they'll pick one of the really good tools out there and they'll say, hey, that's what we need and that's what we're going to use. Well, obviously the problem in a tools-first strategy is that once the tool is chosen, it dictates every decision from that point forward. It's like saying, okay, we're going to be an Oracle shop. So now everything that you do is going to be through that lens of Oracle. You're going to have that confirmation bias. You're going to have that investment momentum. You're going to have that mass that you have to catch and do something with. And so the organization will say, look, we put $250,000 in this software, you know, you're going to use it, you know. And so for all of the things that it isn't intended to use, any of you ever worked on, I grew up on a farm, working on a farm at my grandparents, and whenever you needed a hammer, you picked up whatever you could find. If it was a rock, a wrench, a pair of pliers, whatever, right? So the problem is that these tools are sometimes mismatched for their purpose. And that's what we end up here in a tools-first strategy. We get into a situation where the tool decision dictates everything from that point forward, from how we organize, how we collect and pull our data together, into how we're going to actually deliver on our business intelligence promise. And then they realized that the licenses aren't adequate. And, oh, wait a minute, every personal user's got to have a license. Well, that just increased our expenses $100,000 year over year. So you can see how these kind of decisions, they definitely begin a process, and it gains so much momentum, and there's so much political, horsepower, what's the political capital behind these decisions, that to stand up and call somebody's baby ugly is not a good thing, right? You can't stop the ball rolling because there's so much investment in time, money, energy, and political capital. A person has said, this is what our organization needs. That person is probably a C-level, right? COO, CFO, CEO, CIO, somebody that went out there and said, okay, I found this tool and we're going to use it and it's going to solve all of our problems. Well, in that situation, you run into the problem of the tail wagging the dog. One of my favorite movies, Wag the Dog, right? The one about the president goes to war to avoid bad things, and then 1994 happens. So look it up. Anyway, so when the tail wags the dog, what that means is that the decision to purchase and use this software just swings the whole organization, and it's the wrong way to approach it, because the tool may or may not be a fit for the organizational ecosystem or their individual needs. You just don't know. So whenever you're dealing with a tools first decision, it's a false start. People are jumping to a conclusion before they come to a decision that makes sense. If you remember Office Space and the jump to conclusions mat, well, what's happened is somebody's thrown a bunch of software on the jump to conclusions mat, and they've jumped to that software decision as the first thing. And so we'll talk about what all of that means and as we get along through the presentation. But understand that to begin a process of maturing a business intelligence platform within your organization by choosing a tool is a false start. It's the wrong way to start the process. And we'll get to what is right as we get through this. So business intelligence is now a marketing term, okay? At one time, we might have thought that business intelligence meant something, right? It's like the term engineer. Everybody's an engineer. It's sanitation engineer. I'm a data engineer. I'm a data scientist. What do those terms mean anymore? Well, the term business intelligence has now been subsumed by the marketing engine, and it's become one of the most effective marketing phrases you'll ever see. So in 2015, the business intelligence tools market was $16.33 billion. This year, it is $26.5 billion. This information comes from Gartner. So you can see that 10 billion over 6 years is tremendous growth, and it's nice and solid and linear, and it doesn't look like it's going to stop anytime soon. So somebody has to buy all that software. I'll never forget leaving the Oracle building. My boss at the time was a guy named Dhruvo Sarkar. He was the CIO, and we're walking out of the building, and I said, man, that was really impressive. All of the software we saw, all of the tools, all the capabilities, the facilities. He goes, well, who do you think's paying for all that? So don't get caught in the trap of thinking that a tool is going to solve your problem, because when you look for tools, this is really what you want, right? You want a Corvette LS9 motor, 6.2 liters, 620 horsepower, 3 times the horsepower of the average car. You want to be able to plug that thing into the engine, plug that engine into the car, the chassis that is your organization, and it should just run, right? That's what's going to happen. Well, the problem is this is what you get when you buy tools, okay? They don't give you the motor. What they give you are all of the parts to make the motor work, all right? So you've got to understand that while every sales pitch says, I'm selling you a motor, what they're selling you is a bag of parts. And it's up to you to assemble the motor, fit it into your chassis, and make it work for your organization. Got a 57 Chevy in the garage. I can guarantee you a modern Corvette engine will not fit, in the first place. Secondly, I'm not smart enough to figure out the wiring to make it work. So when you look at these kinds of tools, you've got to realize what they're selling you. Even the ones that claim to be delivering packages, claim to be delivering pre-built business intelligence visualizations, reports, or whatever. You've got to realize that it is very rare that any organization is going to fit into a mold. Almost every organization approaches their business from a different perspective. You might be an organization that's very cost conscious. Another organization might be one that's very profit driven. Another one might be, I want to push prices. Okay, I want to push utilization. I want to push occupancy. I want to push something. Every organization, whether they're a bunch of hospitals, whether they're a bunch of accounting firms, whether they're a bunch of manufacturing, they're all about the same thing, but they could approach it in completely different ways. Maybe one manufacturer's competitive advantage is vendor agreements and contracts. Another one might be assembly line efficiencies and zero defects, right? You know, everybody's going to go dimming and we're all going to do whatever, Six Sigma until we puke. But the point is that no package is going to understand your business. No package is going to give you anything but a bag of parts. Let's take a look at what the tools do. All right. So everybody can read the literature. Go read the Redshift literature. Go read Microsoft Azure Synapse literature. We're selling you the most advanced business intelligence platform the world has ever seen. Synapse integrates with Azure Data Lake Gen 2. It has built-in machine learning capabilities. It has built-in Polybase connectivity, you know, massively parallel processing. What is it? It's a data warehouse, okay? It stores crap that you can use. Now, does it store crap in a data lake? Sure. Can it store crap in a database? Yes. Okay, great. Can it integrate the two? Wonderful. So can a Hadoop cluster, right? So the problem is that all of these tools are selling a bill of goods. You've got to realize what the tool gets you. If you're buying a data warehouse like Synapse, Redshift, fill in blank here, remember that you're buying the container. It will not fit into your organization. It will not read from data sources. It will not deliver to data marts, reports, Power BI, Tableau, ClickView. You have to do that. You have to make that work. You have to fit it into your pipeline. So make sure before you go buy a data warehouse that A, you need a data warehouse. That's a whole nother question entirely. B, that it is going to fit. Do you have the expertise, knowledge on hand to handle it? Are you guys a Postgres shop? You're going to go buy Oracle? What for? Right? So the whole point is to don't get sold a bill of goods. Dashboards. What's a dashboard? Everybody sells their business intelligence platform by showing you some beautiful dashboards. They're beautifully rendered. They are absolutely wonderful, but the data rarely matches the kind of data that you want to see. The visualizations are rarely good enough for you to be operational on. They are designed to be lovely and attractive. I saw a presentation from Microsoft where they showed Power BI's animated timeline by showing who sold the most records, you know, with the divas and Elvis Presley and everything over time as it moved through. I can tell you that I have worked with probably 150 clients since I saw that presentation, and not one of them has asked me for an animated timeline visualization, but it sells. It's beautiful to look at. But what is a dashboard tool? It's a product that allows you as a builder to build things that people can look at. Well, what separates one dashboard tool from another? Is it something you've had experience with? Is it something you already know? Is it easy to learn? Does it integrate well with data sources? Does it deliver in a way that makes sense? Is it cost effective? Does it work for delivering through mobile? Does it work for delivery through web? How would you know all of that, right? You have to make some decisions about what you're going to do with your information before you go buy a way to show it. You also have to have the data before you go buy a way to show it. One of the worst things I've ever seen is a demo where these people will go out and sell you this dashboard product and they won't tell you, oh yeah, well, that's, you know, 6 years of Essbase and data modeling and data consolidation and cleanup to get you from A to B. You know, one of my clients is NIAID, the National Institute for Allergy and Infectious Diseases. I actually had Dr. Fauci kick me out of a conference room about 10 years ago. So they are a data organization. One of the strangest things you'll ever realize, they have nothing to do with healthcare. They are a data organization. Their job is to collect grants and money and everything and deliver it for research, and then take that research data, run it through a platform and deliver it to the public. They're public health, right? Everything that they do, you paid for. All of the data that they've delivered, you can go get. So remember that data is the core of a lot of what we're trying to do. And if you don't have the data, you can't show the data. So it's really important not to get sold on a way to show it when you don't think you have it in one place to see it. And then you've got formatted reports like SQL reporting services, business objects, fill in blank here with every paginated report builder out there in the world. It's just another way to see the data. Well, what about all those great ad hoc tools? You know, I can fire up Excel and go talk to my data models. Yeah, you can. It's just another way to see the data. You know, what works in your organization? Is Excel better because all you guys are Excel jocks? Or is it an executive dashboard and those people don't know the X from the L, you know, on the keyboard? So the question is, what is the tool going to provide me that I need? Okay, not what I want, not what I can see, not what looks prettiest. What do I need? And so what you got to realize is that tools are just the foundation. Okay, they are not the house. They give you what is necessary to get value from business intelligence, but they have nothing to do with actually delivering on the business intelligence promise. Okay, value comes when you know what you're trying to accomplish and you know how the tool is going to help you accomplish what you're trying to accomplish. Now, is that a person or is that a tool? Okay, the tool doesn't provide the value. The tool provides the means to achieve the value. So you've got to realize that you're not buying a tool that's going to improve your business intelligence delivery or your maturity as an organization. The tool is just the thing that will get you there. And one of the other things that I really push as a consultant, when people ask me to come in and do business intelligence strategy assessments, maturity assessments, organizational assessments, process, governance, whatever that is, the core and key thing is, do you know what you're trying to accomplish? And can you do it with the information that you have at hand? If your organization does not align its information technology objectives with business objectives, then all you're going to get is a bunch of technology. We'll talk about that as we go a little bit later. So remember that the key thing here is that people provide value. Tools help people deliver on the promise of business intelligence. Sure, can you be fighting with one hand tied behind your back if your tool doesn't support your effort? Of course. But remember that no amount of boxing gloves or shorts or, you know, smearing Vaseline on my face is going to make me a fighter that's capable of getting in the ring with Floyd Mayweather. Okay, it just isn't going to happen. All right. So remember that the tool is just a part of what it takes to deliver on the promise of business intelligence value. So let's talk about that. All right, so if I want to make sure that my objectives as a business intelligence organization or my objective as a business intelligence delivery person should be aligned with a business objective, and that is business value. What is business value? Okay. How would you define business value? Well, the problem is it's informal, it's broad, it's really hard to nail down. There are lots of components to business value. There are lots of ways people look at business value. What about shareholder value or financial value? That's what most people want, right? I want to add more to the bottom line. I want to give more money to my shareholders or whatever. Then there's customer value. What is my platform? Is my platform of value to customers? I've got a customer, it's Luckstone. Their objective is to take huge rocks and make them tiny rocks and sell them to you. That's their entire business plan, okay? But how does an organization like that has a commodity product that anybody can dig out of the ground, make smaller, put it in a truck and deliver, how do they differentiate themselves in the marketplace? They leverage information technology. They have a customer portal. The guy in the field, from his phone, from his tablet, can log into a portal and find out where the truck is that's delivering the load. It's a mile away, it's 10 minutes away, it's 30 minutes away. There are 2 trucks sitting a mile away waiting for you. When you're doing paving, you got to have 5 and 10 trucks lined up. How do they differentiate? Well, they use business intelligence. They use data intelligence. They use geo-intelligence to be able to help the customer understand how to stage their workers and plan for their event. If they need a load of gravel and the truck is an hour away and there's nothing they can do until the truck gets there, it's time for lunch, right? They can tell their guys, go take lunch, come back, the truck will be here in an hour, and the truck is there, right? And then everybody can just keep going. So customer value is, how is what your platform's doing improving your customer's existence, your customer's life? Now remember, it's not just what you sell them, but it's what you tell them about what you sold them and how to use it, how to get the best value from it. That's customer value. Operations efficiency. A lot of manufacturing outfits, a lot of nonprofits push hard on operations efficiency. How can I improve either the throughput, the flow, or the defects? One of my customers sells transformers. These things are some of them fit on a tractor trailer and are run portable off a tractor trailer. Some of them are sold in components that fit on the tractor trailer and delivered to substations. Tell you something about these transformers. If there's a defect, you don't know until it's done. They have to build this thing, and it takes months to get these things built, and then they have to tank them. Tank them meaning that they fill a huge steel container with oil, they dip the transformer in it, they weld it shut, and they test it. If it fails, guess what they have to do? They have to cut the container open and pull it back out and fix it. That's called untanking. So how do you, over the course of 4 months of construction and delivery on something that's $37 million per unit, how do you minimize defects, and what's the value of that? Well, there's a ton of value, right? So how can you improve your operations efficiency? How about employee knowledge? Can you make your employees more competent? Can they deliver better? So there are lots of components to business value. We'll talk a little bit later about what that means in terms of alignment, but just keep that in mind, that your objective should be the business objective, and most business objectives are aligned to business value. So keep that in mind as we go through. Now, everybody that I'll run into that's gone to an MBA program, me included, will tell you that this is value, okay? Value is ROI, total revenue minus total cost over investment. That's return on investment, okay? We put $250,000 into the business intelligence platform. We need $1 million out of it. How are you gonna measure it? I'll tell you, when I worked at the bank, we could justify anything we wanted to do by saying that we're going to save 10 minutes of a commercial account manager's week. So there are like 500 commercial account managers. If we gave them 10 minutes of their week back, that's going to mean $16 million to the bottom line of the bank over the course of a year. Therefore, we can spend up to $16 million, and then next year we'll be ahead. Who's going to measure it? Who knows that those 10 minutes are A, going to be saved? B, how are you going to measure it? How are you going to know, even if you got the extra 16 million, how you know it was because of your software change or your improvement in business intelligence or whatever it is that you did? How do you know? You're not going to know. So avoid ROI at every possible turn. But there are components of ROI that are very relevant to the business value decision. So let's simplify things. What are we looking for as people who are attempting to move the needle from a business intelligence perspective? Okay, we're looking for items that will either increase revenue or reduce cost. Those are business value propositions. Now, the highest business value propositions are the ones at the intersection of the set. That's where we're increasing revenue and reducing costs at the same time. So when the organization is out and about trying to make decisions on business value, see if they can simplify what they're trying to get in terms of this simple model. Are we trying to do a better job of making money, or are we trying to do a better job of saving money? Or are we trying to do both at the same time? Because very rarely can you do both. But if you could, you'd hit a sweet spot, right? So I got this diagram from a book called Corporate Politics for IT Managers. And I can highly recommend this book. It really helps you get your thinking away from utilities and tactics and into a more strategic model of delivery. So the idea is that your relationship within the organization affects your role and your ability to affect the organization. And it's a pyramid. So if your job is just to take care of day-to-day needs, then you have a more transactional relationship with the organization, and you've merely provided a license for you to exist. I find most IT directors and leaders, especially network managers, PC managers, they live in this space, okay? They're utility providers. As long as I keep the lights on, I keep my job. Well, the problem is that's all you will ever be. You will always be a cost center. You will not add value, and you will always only provide a license to exist. As you move up, if you spend more time with the people you're trying to deliver for, and you learn more about the things that they're trying to do, and you begin to become engaged in those conversations, and you begin to learn new needs, and you begin to help them understand the business benefits of what you have to deliver from a business intelligence platform, then you're beginning to get a license to influence, okay? That means that you're a valued partner in the decision-making process. And as that grows to where business intelligence begins to provide competitive advantage to the organization, then you could get into a position where you actually have a license to decide things that move the needle for the organization. So be thinking as you go through the process of your day-to-day life of where you are in a conversation with someone. Are you all the time talking about keeping the lights on and email going? And I remember when we were running, Microsoft Exchange, you couldn't keep enough data on Microsoft Exchange. No matter how many shells we put in, no matter how many drives we put in, people would fill them up. If all you're trying to do is keep Exchange up and running, keep the network going, make sure people can log in and get stuff, that's great because it's necessary. But that has now become the absolute lowest level of engagement. Every organization expects that anymore, okay? So to move up, you're gonna have to change the conversation and get more engaged with the people that you're delivering to and understand more and more what they're trying to do from a business value perspective. And hopefully that will help you when you're trying to create a business value proposition for any business intelligence project you're trying to do. So try to keep the scope narrow enough that you can create tangible results. And as your maturity grows, you could expand into more intangible results because you've proven your ability to deliver. So try to keep the scope narrow, try to make it manageable and understandable. If you can get to a situation like I had an organization that had 57 databases. We got them down to 3 databases and 2 servers, right? That's a tangible result from an engagement. They could look at the numbers and they could say, it was this, it's now this, we haven't changed what we're delivering. That's good, you did a good thing. So be thinking about those kinds of objectives as you go through the process of designing how to move your organization forward how to mature your platform, how to deliver better from your business intelligence tools. So remember to make the connection. You have to align strategy to business value. And what does that mean? Well, what that means is that your objective for the business intelligence platform that you're building, for the dashboard you're building, for the analysis you're doing, for the reports you're writing, for the spreadsheets you're delivering, whatever that is, you need to stop saying that my objective is to deliver the dashboard. My objective is to deliver the report. My objective is to deliver Excel. Your objective should be the business value objective. If the business value objective is to provide executives with better visibility over the bookings process, the sales process, the delivery process, the shipping process, then that's your objective. To do otherwise is to ding dong ditch a product, right? You run up on the porch, you throw it on, ring the bell, and take off just as fast as you can. Now, how many people want that from a vendor, right? You don't want an ERP vendor to sell you $1 million piece of software, throw it on the porch, ring the bell, and say good luck, right? You want somebody to be in there with you, helping you get the value from the product. So you have to be thinking that in two aspects. The first aspect is backwards. You got to look to your vendors to help you deliver on the promises that they make. You have to look to your consumers to help deliver on the promises you make to them. Make sure that you speak the business language when you speak to them about what you're doing. If what we're trying to do is improve efficiency, then use those terms. Don't talk about the dashboard has 12 metrics with 3 KPIs that help. No, it's okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to show this efficiency metric. As we've seen over the last 3 years, this efficiency metric has dropped. And if we do this, we hope to get some improvement. I did this with UVA Hospital. They had a D on their Leapfrog report. If anybody knows anything about medical Leapfrog, no bueno, right? Bad grades are bad news. But they realized what happened over time was that their most mature nurses were the least careful with sharps. For example, people would come into UVA with twisted ankle, broken leg, needing an appendix surgery or whatever, and they leave with an infection and an appendix taken out, and an infection and whatever. So what they did was they came to us and said, okay, so we've got to deliver all of this stuff to the board so that we can put together a plan. So Dr. Hoke came in with this much stuff, right? I mean, 12, 13 inches. I said, Dr. Hoke, how much time do you have with the board? And she goes, well, I got about 10 minutes. I said, are you going to get through this in 10 minutes? No. I said, okay, you're on the elevator with one of the board members. How are you going to explain your approach? How are they going to get rid of the D on the Leapfrog card? Oh, well, that's easy. You know, this is what we've discovered over the last 4 years. We're going to go through a re-education process. We're going to actually have some punishments and penalties in place that could affect their compensation going forward if they are a part of a unit that has poor. I said, there you go. That's your story. That's your business objective. So we built a dashboard and some reports that could be delivered in 5 to 10 minutes that told the story she needed to tell. It had nothing to do with the mountains of data and the mountains of history. It really only had to do with the message they had to deliver. Give us $100,000 and we'll turn that D into an A in Leapfrog. That's the message, okay? So align what you're trying to do and align your objective to the message, and don't ding dong ditch the people you're trying to help, and don't be bomber pilots flying over at 40,000 feet dropping crap on them, right? Just get in there with them, learn the language, learn the business, learn the approach, learn the value propositions, and deliver on the value propositions in partnership with them, all right? So how do we get there? Just use the process, right? Define, design, develop, and deliver. You know, it's an iterative process. And I'll tell you something too. The more you can engage the people that you're delivering for, the better you're going to be in two ways. Number one, you're going to get a better product in the end. And two, they're going to take ownership of it. And they're not going to sit back in the peanut gallery and chuck rocks at you because it's just as much theirs as it is yours. So try to think in terms of iterative process. Get real small with this thing. Get real agile with it, to steal a term from project management, right? Deliver small things. Deliver incrementally. Keep them engaged. Keep them involved. Don't take specifications and come back 6 weeks later and then say, well, that's not it. All right. Nobody wants that, right? So get in there and make sure that they understand that you are together on this journey. Okay. This isn't a handoff. Okay. You hand off to me, I hand off to you. No, we're partners in crime here. We're partners in delivering the business value. I'm going to use the business value as my objective. You're going to use the business value of your objective. I'm going to bring technology and business intelligence and data. You're going to bring institutional knowledge. Together, we're going to make it happen, Captain. Okay, we're going to deliver on the business value objective. If you can't develop that kind of a partnership, that kind of a relationship with the people you're trying to help, then you're really going to struggle. You're going to really struggle to deliver, and struggle to deliver efficiently, because it's always going to be a redo. And I've never met a developer that wants to get to the end, deliver a project, and have it go back and have to change something. I've never met one that said, wow, I really like changes. I want to go in there and take that visualization out and change it to that. Or I want to go do this recalculation. Oh, wait a minute, there's this whole other data source that we didn't pull into the analysis. So try to do that on a small basis. There's a book called The Learning Layer, and it talks about failing faster. And the idea is that failing's not a problem as long as it doesn't cost a lot of time, money, energy, or effort, okay? So failure is a win as long as it doesn't cost a lot. If you invest 6, 7, 8 weeks in something and fail to deliver, that's a significant investment in time, energy, and effort. You've lost political capital, you've lost investment. By the time you get to the end of a 6 or 8 week process, whatever the problem was is probably gone, or it's changed. So try to narrow those focuses down, narrow those delivery points down, and be more iterative. And think more along the lines of minimum viable project when you're thinking about delivering on these business intelligence reports and dashboards. Get some metrics out there first. Don't try to solve for the ocean when you need to just get the kiddie pool built first, okay? One of the first things I do for every project is I take every metric that the client wants and I put it into a report. It's just a rows and columns. I can always slice and dice. I can always do multi-factor analysis. I can always make it pretty, but I've got to make sure that my A's and B's and C's line up to the report, the analytics, the statistics, whatever it is they're trying to run against. So make sure that you do the blocking and tackling. Bring it home with the pretty stuff at the end. Start off with the stuff that's not fun. I have a meeting at the end of my early phases called Nobody's Having Fun, because it's all about the crap that you have to do to get from A to B. So be thinking about that as you go through this process. And remember that success isn't instant in these situations. The process helps bring you to a successful conclusion. But all of us in business intelligence know there is no end to the project. The budget might stop, the time might end, but I guarantee you the need never ends. It's constantly changing, it's constantly evolving. If you're not in pace with that change, if you're not in step with that change, then you haven't got the right relationship with your consumers. They've got to understand that you might have a budget, you might have a bucket of money, whatever it is set aside to run this project, but that's just the start. That anything that has real life and real value is going to move with the organization through its phases. I think gone are the days. I remember when I was working at the bank, I built something called the customer relationship system, which, you know, today you would say is nothing, but it was a dashboard. And that thing ran for 10 years, okay? Because they had invested so much in it and built so much in it. And I was really proud of that. I don't think it's going to happen today. I mean, no organization is going to be where they are 10 years from now, where they are today, not even the bank I used to work at, SunTrust. So everybody's in a different place. So make sure that you're in pace and that your scope and your scale matches the pace that you want to keep and maintain. Plus, you're adding value as you go along. It's not at the end. You're adding value all the way through. They're beginning to get visualizations. They're beginning to see. They're beginning to get to where they want to be as you walk together on the journey. So don't lose that. Don't lose that momentum. Don't lose that engagement. Don't lose that involvement. Well, Kevin, you've told us that to start with a tool decision is not the right way to get started. So what is the right way to get started? Well, in my humble opinion, right, I've only been at this a short while, 30 some years. My humble opinion is that the best place to start is where you are with what you have. I call it leveraging existing investments. If you already have a platform, if you already have a tool, use it. If you only have Excel and you have Access databases and you have text files, use them, okay? In the short term, your objective should be to centralize and standardize the information that you know about the organization. Everything that you need should be standardized, centralized, codified, curated, collated, deliver it, right? Get it in one place. Get rid of data islands. Get rid of Bob's got that report. Bob's the only one who knows how to do it. I work for what was the name of Mary Washington University. They have to deliver a report to the state of Virginia that says that this is their financial aid per student. Well, what's the denominator? What's student? Is that somebody over 12 hours? Does that include summer? Is that somebody full-time? How do you define full-time? What are the rules, right? Standardize, centralize, get it in one place so you can deliver it. At that university, they had one guy that had been doing it 25 years. Guy was getting ready to retire. They had no idea what they were going to do. If he'd fallen dead from a heart attack, the guy has 75 spreadsheets that he uses to deliver the report, one-page report to the state of Virginia on what their financial aid situation was. Not a sustainable situation, very fragile. Move away from fragile, okay? Make it robust, make it redundant, get it in one place, get it where everybody can agree this is a number. I worked for a company one time, took 6 weeks to calculate, a controllable net operating income. Sometimes that's what it takes, right? To just get everybody to agree. What are the words we're going to use to describe it? What's the data that's most authoritative? And how are we going to get that, right? In the middle term, after you've gotten past the part where nobody's having fun and nobody likes you and nobody understands what you're doing, then you're able to deliver. Then they start to see the data visualizations and the ad hoc business intelligence and the machine learning and as you go on, you as an organization will begin to master your data management process. You'll do better on the, all of the governance. You'll do better on all of the process. You'll do better on all of those things. And you'll even look at how to bring in other tools from outside your organization. I know lots of organizations that I work with have started to really spend a lot of time with, sentiment analysis and going out to organizations that will mine your Facebook and Twitter to find out what people think about your organization. So there are lots of ways to add value down the line if you do the homework and do all the blocking and tackling. So in the short term, get it standardized and centralized. Many organizations lack the will to push through this tough phase. This is hard work, guys. This is hauling gravel in the trunk of your car. It's not the best way to get gravel moved, and it doesn't do the trunk of your car a heck of a lot of good, but it's got to be done. In the midterm, focus on delivery. Focus on getting information out there, the people who can actually bring value to the organization. And think about your organizational business intelligence, your structured business intelligence, your ad hoc business intelligence, right? Ad hoc business intelligence, having a conversation with the data. I don't know what I'm looking at. I want to look at some data, have a conversation with it, and see if I can find some insights. Organizational business intelligence is a one-way communication. I'm going to stand at the top of the hill and I'm going to shout down to the people, this is how much we made last month. These are the things that we're working on. One-way business intelligence, organizational business intelligence, ad hoc, back and forth communication with the data. In the middle, structured, right? I'm going to predefine some paths for the information for you. I can't have everybody and their brother dumping the entire GL into a spreadsheet, okay? But I'm going to give you some structured paths for exploration. So make sure that when you deliver on organizational business intelligence, structured business intelligence, and ad hoc business intelligence. Keep it all in mind as you're going through the process of building it out. And then focus on maturing your platform, expanding your delivery options. And I got to tell you, you got to be thinking security through the whole thing, because it's going to be tested as you move through this process. And it's going to bite you in the butt if you haven't thought through the security model. Who's going to get to see what? Am I going to have to deal with object level permissions? Am I going to have to look into a tool or an environment and say, can you do column level permissions? Can you do row level permissions? Because let me tell you, you don't want to get to the end and find that the tool you picked can't do the things that you need to do. And here's my story, okay? Why leverage existing investments? Why go through this process? Because even if you get to the place where the tools that you have cannot deliver, you at least enter the tools market as an informed consumer. You enter the market knowing what you need from a business intelligence tool because you know what yours isn't delivering. So the worst situation is to get into the market not knowing what you need, not knowing where you are, not knowing how you're going to deliver. The best situation is to have taken a tool to its limit and realize that you need to go beyond and entering the market as an informed consumer. So that's my spiel. I'll get off my soapbox and open the floor to questions.